Hello, everyone. This is Sebastian, and welcome to the third episode of the Storytelling Podcast here on KWDC 93.5 LPFM Delta College Radio. After two great episodes of the Storytelling Podcast, we have all returned to complete this original trilogy of podcasts with this third episode. In this episode, we will be taking a major deep dive into the world of storytelling through my point of view, with this episode on how to continue a story. You're going to want to stick around for this one, folks, because there will be a lot to cover, and there will also be a few guests that will be featured within this third podcast episode. Without wasting any more time, let's jump into this third episode on how to continue a story. Before we properly begin, let's talk about what it really means to continue a story. When you pick up where either you or someone else left off, you're stepping into a world with its own momentum. Characters, tone, and the plot already are in motion. Your job is to respect the foundation and to carry it forward in a way that feels natural and connected. With that in mind, let's break down the essentials for writing a strong story continuation. The first thing that you're going to want to do is fully understand the existing story. Before adding anything new, you must know exactly what has happened in the story at this point in time and why it matters. You're going to have to research the previous story or previous stories. You have to read or view all of the previous chapters or scenes from whatever story you're making a continuation for. Make sure to note major events, major conflicts, and then even the character arcs that came before in the previous stories. And you're going to want to make sure to identify the story's direction and the unresolved threads that were left off in the previous stories. A few examples that I can give is, before writing anything after Infinity War, you must understand that the snap has consequences, and this is something that they took into account in the actual sequels that came out post-Infinity War, post-Endgame. We did see the effects of it on the world on Endgame. We saw how it affected all the people after the Avengers brought everyone back. Another example I can give is before continuing Transformers Dark of the Moon, you have to know that the Battle of Chicago has consequences, and as we see in Age of Extinction, there is consequences. The military and the Autobots are no longer together because of Congress in that world, because they thought that the Battle of Chicago was something that was traumatic and probably worse than, like, let's say 9/11 in their time, because they just didn't want any aliens fighting their battles anymore. The second thing that you're going to want to do is to keep characters consistent. Characters should feel like the same people the audience already knows. You have to match their established personality and behaviors. Keep their motivations the same unless the story explains the change. And you're going to want to maintain the speaking style, the voice, and the emotion patterns of each character that you're writing. The first example that I'll give is in Harry Potter. Harry Potter should not suddenly become hateful and selfish without a strong story-driven reason as to why he's like that. And then in Star Wars, Darth Vader should not suddenly act goofy or emotional. His cold, controlled demeanor is essential to his character, and giving any sort of change would really confuse a lot of people. The third thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to match the tone and the style to the previous story or stories. A continuation should sound like it belongs in the same story as what came before. You have to observe whether the story is dark, whether it's funny, serious, hopeful, etc. You have to mirror the original writing style, which means you have to look at the descriptive, the fast pace, the minimalist, stuff like that. Make sure to avoid sudden tonal shifts that feel out of place in your story as well. An example that I can give is a Five Nights at Freddy's continuation should keep its suspense, it should keep its eeriness, the tone should be the same, and it should not suddenly become a comedic story. Also, I would just like to add real quick, I finally get to talk about something Five Nights at Freddy's related in these podcasts. The fourth thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to follow the world's rules. All these settings have boundaries and logic that stays within them. You have to keep magic, technology, or physics of that world consistent. Don't introduce abilities or rules that contradict with what it already exists in this current world that you're building and in this current sequel that you're also building. Expand the world only in ways that make sense within what's been established already. A few examples that I can give is in Harry Potter, you can't make a character teleport without magic. If you're to just have him teleport without magic, it would really mess up the rules of that world that has been set up. Another example I can give is in Avatar: The Last Airbender. Bending elements has its strict limits. You can't suddenly allow characters to bend without training or lineage in that world. The fifth thing that you're going to want to do is maintain logical progression in this story. Events should feel like a natural next step, not a random addition to said story. Make sure to ensure that scenes naturally flow with what happens beforehand. Avoid any random plot twists fast with no buildup. Let character decisions drive the next events that are supposed to happen. An example that I can give is in WWE storylines, a betrayal, or rather a heel turn, is usually built up over a period of time. You don't really often see them jump straight into the payoff without any setup. There's usually always some form of setup before you get to that payoff. The sixth thing that you're going to want to do is keep a pacing balance. What I mean by that is match the story's rhythm so nothing feels rushed or dragged out. You don't want to rush major emotional or action moments. You don't want to stretch minor scenes unnecessarily. You want to match the pacing style that was used in the earlier sections or the earlier parts of the story, even in what came before in the previous stories that you're currently making a sequel to. An example that I can give is in Marvel's Avengers Endgame. It gives Tony Stark's final moments a slow emotional pacing that's needed for that character. And then in Lord of the Rings, it takes time to build emotional moments. Continuations shouldn't usually feel rushed when it comes to the bigger characters and the bigger characters' decisions that were in those movies. The seventh thing that you're going to want to do is respect the established themes of the story. The continuation should support the ideas and the messages already present within. You have to identify the story's central themes, whether it's growth, whether it's loss, mystery, stuff like that. Keep those themes present in your continuation. Avoid introducing new themes that contradict the original message. Two examples that I can give is Harry Potter consistently explores friendship, they explore loss, courage. These themes stay central throughout the story that's progressing. The second example that I can give is the theme of friendship and bravery is central to Stranger Things. A continuation should reinforce that tone whenever it comes into play. The eighth thing that you're going to want to do is avoid contradictions. Nothing should rewrite or break what the story already established. You have to double check your facts, your ages, your timelines, your abilities, and the history of that said story. Don't overwrite or ignore previous details that were in the previous adventures or previous stories. You have to clarify unclear points instead of altering them. Some examples that I can give is in Marvel, you can't pretend Captain America didn't return the Infinity Stones just because it's an inconvenience. And then another example I can give is in the Transformers, you can't pretend Bumblebee suddenly never lost his voice if that's a major part of his story. That was kind of something that they forgot about in the first film, but then they just really didn't care for the other 4 films that came out afterwards. The ninth thing that you're going to want to keep in mind is to use clear, polished writing. Writing itself should be smooth, it should be readable, and it should be professional on top of everything else. You have to write with clean grammar and sentence flow. You have to make sure descriptions are vivid but not confusing. You have to ensure dialogue is readable, that it's natural. Some examples I can give on writing is even in WWE promos, you have to have a structure and you have to have a clarity there. The characters speak in organized voices. And then in Marvel films, you have to balance action and dialogue clearly. Characters speak with distinct tones that match their personalities. Now, for the 10th and final thing that I will leave you all off on is you have to add purposeful progression. Every continuation must contribute something meaningful to the story's movement. You have to move the story forward in a meaningful way. You have to build up the tension. You have to give the characters the proper development so that their story can flow neatly. And you have to, you don't have to, but you could include new challenges in the story. And you could even end your story or continuation with a smooth transition into what comes next from this continuation onto the next continuation. Some examples that I can give is each Harry Potter book introduces a new challenge. Like, for example, the Triwizard Tournament. That's something that was meaningful and something that advanced the overall story as a whole. My final example that I can give is each Five Nights at Freddy's game usually ends with clues that lead into the next major mystery. Nothing is added without purpose in those games, and it's up to the viewers most of the time and the players to figure out what everything all means. And even after 11 years, people are still trying to piece everything together, but the community is getting there. So just to recap for all of you, the first thing you have to do is fully understand the existing story. The next thing you're going to want to follow from that is you have to keep the characters consistent. You're going to want to match the tone and the style. You're going to want to follow the world's rules. You're going to want to maintain logical progression in your story. You want to keep pacing balanced. You're going to want to respect themes that have been established. You want to avoid any contradictions at all costs. You want to use clear and polished writing. And then finally, you're going to want to add purposeful progression to your said story. So while we're on the topic of writing continuations, I would actually like to give my thoughts on how I think I would continue a story. The story that I'm going to choose in particular is actually, well, technically multiple stories coming from this one story, but this is how I would personally make a continuation, or rather continuations, to the movie Transformers Rise of the Beasts that came out in 2023, I believe. Now, personally, I don't think Rise of the Beast should have been made the way it was. I feel like that was 3 movies crammed into one, which in many ways it was. But because it has come out since then, here's how I would personally maybe do a sequel or continuation of those said stories. For the Maximal side of things, because Optimus Primal and the Maximals were in it, maybe have a sequel or a prequel that expands upon these characters. In Transformers Rise of the Beast, we didn't really get to know a lot about these characters. We didn't get to know a lot about Cheetor, Rhinox. The only 2 that we kind of got some development for were Airazor and Optimus Primal, the leader of the group. For those of you who have seen the original Beast Wars animated show in the 90s, you'll know that these characters are actually really well written in that show. You'll know that they're actually interesting as characters. So I feel like they could take inspiration from that TV show, specifically the first season, not the season 2 or 3, but they could take the first season and adapt it into movie form. And because of the way that they set up this current timeline, you could have humans there still. You can have that, the one person that is just connected to the audience in human form other than the Transformers. But it would also be cool to see a prequel taking place in the past. That's one way to do a continuation of that section of the story. Another continuation that I would do is to have the standard Autobots fight back against the Decepticons again. The Decepticons have not been seen in this timeline since the Bumblebee movie that came out in 2018, and I really feel their absence because they've technically been gone for around 7, maybe 8 years at this point. So I really strongly believe that they should make their presence known again. I would like to see Megatron, Starscream, Shockwave, the classic lineup of Decepticons coming to Earth to fight back against the Autobots, and I would really like them to take heavy inspiration from the original 80s cartoon that came out back when my dad happened to be a kid. It's a pretty simple story. It's just Autobots versus Decepticons reigniting the war. They traveled many galaxies just to get to Earth, and now Earth is in the crossfire, but the Autobots have to protect it. And then for the final continuation of this said story, in Transformers Rise of the Beast, there's a planet-eating force called Unicron. In the Transformers lore, he's supposed to be like the big bad, the final boss of the Transformers world, so whenever they do get around to making the end of a story arc, they could bring in Unicron, and he can be the threat that happens to unite every faction together just so they can. So that's how I would continue the story following Rise of the Beasts. And now, other than just having my thoughts on what would be a continuation to other stories, I actually have 2 guests with me here in the studio. But before we get to that, thank you for joining us on the 3rd episode of the Storytelling Podcast on how to continue a story here on Delta College. We are going to be taking a quick break, but we will be right back here on 93.5 KWDC.
Don't let biased algorithms, or degree screens, or exclusive professional networks, or stereotypes. Don't let anything keep you from discovering the half of the workforce who are stars. Workers skilled through alternative routes rather than a bachelor's degree. It's time to tear the paper ceiling and see the stars beyond it. Find out how you can make stars part of your talent strategy at tearthepaperceiling.org. Brought to you by Opportunity at Work and the Ad Council.
Welcome back from the commercial break, everyone. I'm Sebastian, and let's continue on with the 3rd episode of the Storytelling Podcast on how to continue a story. I'm here with my first guest, Chris.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chris. I'm a digital media student here at San Joaquin Delta College, just like Sebastian. Thank you for having me here in this podcast episode.
Thank you for being here. So, Chris, what are we talking about today?
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about just like writing. We're talking about how we would change a part or sequel of a movie that we didn't like, or that how it went, or how we would just like.
In this case, it's talking about how you would do an entire story, because technically all 3 of these combined is one story.
Right.
So what is that on?
The topic that I wanted to talk about today of like how I would change a story in a film that I feel like could have been better is the Star Wars, the last trilogy, to be more specific. So The reason why I chose Star Wars as a topic is because the last trilogy, if people know about it, they would know what I'm talking about, because the last trilogy wasn't the best, right?
No.
Especially for like longtime fans of Star Wars as well, because it was something that was so anticipated and people expected it to be something great, but it was kind of just like a letdown ever since after the first movie. I think the first movie was great, but then after
Force Awakens, that one made the world fall in love with Star Wars again, but then the moment that The Last Jedi came out, it was like, oh, what happened? And then with the third one, I feel like it was like, oh my god, you guys did not plan this at all.
Yeah, they had like such a good premise of it in the beginning, but for some reason, who knows what happened, but it had just...
They made side character the movie with The Last Skywalker.
Right, it just like had dragged down, because if... Okay, so how I would have made it or gone about the whole trilogy, how it would have been, sorry. But you know how it started out with Finn, the stormtrooper, who was obviously on the other side, but he didn't like being a stormtrooper. So for him, wanting to change his ways, become a good guy, and I feel like they could have kept with that and not have anything to do with Rey at all, like her being like such a big main character in the film. I thought it would have been Finn, because it seemed like the premise of him being there was good, because as well, like his character is like very shy. He was also like, you know, just a nervous person, but also he wanted to do good as well, since he was a stormtrooper and hated all of the stuff like killing people and everything. So to having I feel like they should have kept that premise of him, and they even had a scene where they had him using the lightsaber to fight a stormtrooper in one of the movies, and you know that was where I felt like
the original plan was him and Rey were meant to be a duo, I believe. And they cut all of that out. I don't know if it was because of his fight at the end with Kylo Ren with the lightsaber, but like during that fight, I was like, no, this dude could have been a Jedi.
Right. I feel like they kind of just dragged away from the fact that he was like a character part in that first film, where he became more of like a side character. They focused more on Rey and her story, and I don't know, they just added all these elements that didn't make sense to the whole trilogy. But I feel like Finn, he should have played a big part in that. I feel like Rey, she was fine as a character, but I feel like Finn should have been as well in that sort of film or the trilogy with her, because just having him cut out, like, and you started the film with him in the first one, I feel like it didn't make sense to like leave him out of all the other movies to not be such an important character, when he in fact was an important character since the beginning. But yeah, I mean, who knows what approach they took to go with that, but I feel like it could have been done way better in that aspect.
I feel like with specifically The Force Awakens, because like I'm pretty sure that's like the only one we could all agree is like the best of the three.
Right.
With that one, the way that it was like structured and built, it feels like it's meant to be like paying homage to the original trilogy. But with like this, when you get to that second and third movie, it's like you can tell something went wrong desperately. And with what was set up in the first movie, it's like either shot down or just like gotten rid of altogether, or just forgotten.
Right, because I feel like the pacing also in the last two movies were also like they were just trying to go too fast with how they were making things, because obviously this is going to be a spoiler, but obviously Star Wars has been out for a while now, but I'm sure
it's been out since like 77, I think.
Yeah, but I mean the last trilogy, it's been out for a while now too, but yeah, so just like a little spoiler, but you know, they had some main characters die off, which like Han Solo, and then also Princess Leia, and then Luke Skywalker as well. They had all those. I
think the ones that were a mistake to kill off was Luke and Han.
Right.
Leia, I understand why they did what they did.
Yeah.
So it's like that one was fine, but what I heard is that for the Rise of Skywalker, at least, all of her scenes were inserted in there, and that was supposed to be footage from previous movies.
Right.
No, I don't know if that included the Last Jedi. It might have, but you can tell that she went from looking old in, you know, Force Awakens to very old in the second movie, The Last Jedi, and then she's back to Force Awakens looking in the last one.
Yeah, but it made sense because, you know, the actor
sadly passed away.
Yeah, rest in peace to her. But
then again, for something like that, it's like so here's another example from a completely separate series, but kind of had the same format as this trilogy. Blumhouse's Halloween trilogy, they started out strong. They were kind of iffy on the second one. Third one completely destroyed it. But in the second one, called Halloween Kills.
Right.
They had because the actor who played Dr. Loomis in that series, he passed away decades ago. So what they did is they got someone who looked like him, added some prosthetic work to him. I feel like they could have done that for Carrie Fisher, and they even had someone to imitate the voice, which sounded like a 1-to-1 to the actor that passed.
Right.
So I feel like you could have done that with Carrie Fisher's.
Right. Yeah. There's just a lot of I feel like misplanning that didn't go their way as they were trying to make the film. They probably didn't realize it too much as they were looking into these things. I feel like they thought very little about it just because they wanted to get those movies done with. But some things shouldn't be overlooked like that. I feel like they could have taken more time with their planning to make sure the films did come out good. But obviously Star Wars fans were let down with how it had happened. But it's one of those films that's this is why you go back and watch the older ones, because you still have that nostalgia as well. But the new ones,
something that happened with these newer ones is when all of them were released, people found new appreciation for the prequels. I don't know how that happened. It was like a complete 180 where it's like, oh no, never mind, those were amazing.
It's
maybe compared to these, but it's fine. I guess
for sure, because I feel like the older ones, I feel like I was one of those persons that you said right now, people would kind of respect more of the prequels as well compared to this last trilogy, which it makes sense because people didn't really like this last trilogy. One thing I would say that I did like was the look of it. I feel like they did nail down the whole
visually.
Look of it.
Visually was some of Ilam's best work that they've done. I still think that the best work that they've done though is probably the Transformers movies, because those are all visually breathtaking.
Right.
But what they did with Star Wars, it was also visually breathtaking, just in a different way.
Yeah, it was amazing to look at.
The spectacle was
for sure
insane.
Comparing to,
I never got to see those in IMAX, but if they ever re-release them, I would only go for the purpose of just seeing the visuals.
Right. Yeah, I would do the same thing, just because it's something it's such a joy to look at, just watching all of that cinematically. It's very pleasing to look at. Comparing those to the older movies, obviously the older movies aren't going to have the best visuals to them, but story-wise, I think people obviously they give more respects to the older movies of Star Wars, because the newer ones just weren't good in story-wise. But it's just a lesson to learn for these people that actually made this film, this last trilogy. But it's kind of sad to see such a big franchise like Star Wars was kind of just let down like that,
banished to Disney Plus. I'm hoping that with this new Mandalorian and Grogu that comes out next year, that it brings it back to the theaters strongly,
right?
Because it's in desperate need. But what's it called? What I am going to ask now is, how would you redo Rey's character if you weren't to get rid of that?
Yeah, so Rey's character, I think, I feel
granddaughter of Palpatine.
Yeah, they had made her related to Luke Skywalker.
No, they made her. What's it called? She was canonically, she's the granddaughter of Emperor Palpatine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I feel like that's kind of where it got confusing a little bit, to have her be the granddaughter of him. I feel like that shouldn't have been what her character was. I feel like in the first film we see her as we don't know who she is, and I think that was fine the way it was. She was someone who was just trying to survive. They
did put some hints in that first film, specifically when she's been captured. She's on that interrogation room. She tells the stormtrooper that she'll let her go, and he'll drop his weapon.
Right.
And that started up the fan theories of being is she related to Obi-Wan Kenobi? Because he used to do the exact same thing.
Right.
And personally, I don't think I would have hated that. I think that would have probably been better.
But making her related to someone who was on the dark side kind of made it more confusing.
It made it confusing because with Palpatine, his story technically was supposed to end with not Empire Strikes Back, with Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi.
Because that's supposed to be Luke and Darth Vader are the ones who threw him down the reactor, and then when you come into Rise of Skywalker, it's he cloned himself. And it's so you're telling me his soul is just hopping between the clones?
Yeah.
It's
it got
and
confusing.
One of his clones became Rogue, and that's the father of Rey? Really?
Yeah, they really I don't know. That's where
it
got confusing.
It just got convoluted, and it's
also,
man, you messed up the story by trying to tell this one.
And in the last film, it was just a little bit confusing. Why did they have Rey kissing Kylo Ren?
Kylo Ren.
That was just so random.
That was out of nowhere.
that shouldn't have been part of the movie. I don't know why that they try to turn it into something romantic towards
I know.
the end. Which, because that had nothing to do with, like, they were enemies. So what's the
they
point
are
of having
enemies.
just these two people kissing in the end when they, they hated each other, they were trying to kill each other? It made no sense, like, what direction they were actually trying to go to with this trilogy.
I mean, and then like the stuff that going back to Finn for a little bit, like what they were doing with him, where he was just like always like constantly needing Rey in the third movie. It's like, bro, what happened to your character from the first film? Man.
Yeah, like it was such a letdown to have him just become this like non-existent character,
like,
and Rey being more of the main one. And also, like, I feel like in the beginning when we saw Rey, I mean, we had, the two characters, Finn and Rey, being the main characters, at least in The Force Awakens. I guess I kind of expected them to be more like, together, the love interest.
That was kind of hinted towards, but that didn't really go anywhere.
Right. They had like no, I feel like they had no
like
growth from that.
Whatever happened, it's mainly because of that Rose plot in the second movie.
Yeah.
Which, if you were to redo the trilogy, would you take her out completely?
Yeah, definitely.
It's like, man, you don't need to add all this piece. It's like, was that needed in the middle of this trilogy? Really?
Yeah, I feel like this last trilogy should have been more of like focused on, bringing back Star Wars and actually making a good story out of it, instead of adding these new key elements that were never part of Star Wars, right? So that just kind of made it more confusing to us, because I think more people had expected it to be more of like, okay, they're bringing back Star Wars, it's going to be great because, it's going to continue what it left off from, or like a new story. A new story obviously is fine.
It's picking up 30 or 40 years. I forgot if it was 30 or 40.
Yeah.
30 or 40 years from the original trilogy. So, yeah, we got the sequel trilogy that everyone kept questioning. It's like, hey, what if we got a sequel trilogy one day?
Yeah, but having this new story, I think would have been fine, except adding all these elements that I think just weren't necessary to have in this last trilogy. I feel like if we could have left those out, it would have been a much better trilogy to have. But yeah, it's sad to see it go like that. But I feel like all Star Wars as a whole franchise can be appreciated anyways, because
I mean, the fan base is still big regardless.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
Just that it kind of divided into like what people like and what people don't like, and then there's those hardcore fans that are just gonna like whatever they throw at the screen.
Yeah,
but
I know what you mean. Yeah, so I've never actually seen like those series, so I can't speak too much on those, because I grew up more just watching the movies of Star Wars. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm like a hater of these movies, the last trilogy. Like, would I watch it again? Yeah, because visually it is amazing to look at. But I'm not someone who's just gonna tell someone, oh, don't watch this because the story is bad. Like, people can have their own opinions on it, right? But generally, people just, I feel like they were let down because they're big Star Wars fans. So to have this last trilogy become something that wasn't as great as they wanted it to be is kind of saddening. But yeah, I mean, a franchise, it just shows how a franchise can just be let down that quickly.
Here's what I would say too, something else to change. So like we kind of touched upon how like all the original characters that were in the original trilogy, keep them alive for this rewrite. Would you have Snoke, the person who was supposed to be the main villain for the third film, would you rather have seen him and Luke Skywalker actually go down in a light show with just those two lightsabers and then like an entire battle going?
Yeah, because I feel like, what was his name? Snoke?
Snoke.
Snoke. Yeah,
the one guy with the golden robes.
So I feel like also with him, I feel like it was kind of, a letdown as well, because they had just like killed him off that easily, when I feel like he could have played a bigger part, because he looked like, the big boss from the dark side. Yeah. So I feel like a lot of things they just underestimated with the characters they had. So I feel like, it could have been more interesting to see him play a bigger part in those last two movies, instead of, just having it be Kylo Ren and Rey, for some reason having this little love story in the end.
What's it called? One of the things that I kind of wish did happen, there was this one rumor that I had seen in a YouTube video a while ago. Someone had made a theory saying, hey, what if this is a son to Palpatine? What if this guy, the reason he has all of this is because he's related to him?
Right.
I mean, in the explanation that we get in the Rise of Skywalker is that Snoke was a clone of Palpatine that just had a deformity. But it's like, what if this was actually the kid of, the Emperor?
I feel like I had originally thought that as well, because
like the moment I saw the lightning thing, it's like, okay, no, he has to be related to one of the Siths, for sure, at most.
Yeah. and the fact that he looked powerful and everything, and they just had not they didn't utilize his character well.
Yeah, they didn't.
So yeah, so they had this good premise behind these certain characters, but they just didn't utilize them the way they were supposed to. So I mean, yeah, just like they could have played bigger roles in this. I feel like they went too fast with how the movies just went. So it is just saddening to see how it actually ended up.
Another thing that would be changed. There was some of this in Rise of Skywalker, mainly with the Chewbacca scene at the end where he got his medal because he didn't get that in the first film. Would you maybe take out some of the fan service that was in these films?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think I think in the end, if I remember correctly, they also showed like the how do I say this, the clones, or Anakin Skywalker showed up as well. I think towards one of the end of the movie.
Oh, that was the original trilogy.
That was the original one.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
with the fan service, but
okay.
With on top of the Chewbacca scene, right when they finally defeat Palpatine, or when Rey Palpatine. I don't call her Rey Skywalker. She's Rey Palpatine to me. When she defeats Palpatine, it shows us clips all over the galaxy of all the other worlds that we've been on in Star Wars. So it's I want to say it was Mustafar is one of them, where they see the ship going down, people are celebrating. So it's that's fan service. You show Sky City, the one city that's in the Empire Strikes Back, and then you show the one Ewok planet from the Return of the Jedi.
Right.
It's you didn't feature this at all in any of the movies for this trilogy, and good to see that all of these planets and places are good, but
it just makes no sense.
It doesn't make sense to just bring them up. It's we didn't visit any of these places.
Yeah,
at least it made sense for back in the original trilogy when they destroyed the Death Star too, because that was supposed to be the end of the Empire. But then this one came in, and so that's the end of this little segment.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Sebastian.
Yeah,
it was great to talk about this topic today.
Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for listening to this podcast episode so far. It's been great having me here just to talk about this. Thank you for joining us on a third episode of the Storytelling Podcast on how to continue a story here on Delta College. We are going to take a quick break now, but we will be right back here on 93.5 KWDC. Thank you.
As veterans, we're no strangers to helping others.
That's what we were taught, service before self.
But we do have one question for the veterans listening.
When was the last time you reached out for help?
If you or someone you know needs resources, whether it's for stress, finances, employment, or mental health, don't wait. Reach out.
Find more information at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the third episode of the Storytelling Podcast. Hope you had a nice little break there. We're going to be continuing on. This next guest that we have on is Allison, who's going to be talking about some K-pop demon hunters for this episode of how to continue a story on the Storytelling Podcast.
Hello, I'm Allison. I'm a student here at Delta College, and I am also the host of K-Bops and Nonstop K-Pop here at KWDC, which is a music hour and a podcast about K-pop. So I feel like this is really fitting for me to talk about K-pop demon hunters and how I would imagine a sequel.
K-pop demon hunters, I'm gonna add this real quick. It's probably my favorite film of the year. And I was really hoping that Five Nights at Freddy's 2 would be, but I feel like that's going to be the second favorite film of mine this year.
Is Five Nights at Freddy 2 coming out this year?
It's coming out on December 5th.
Oh, that fast already?
Yeah. But yeah, time for K-pop demon hunters to be spoken on this one.
All right. So, leaving off on the first movie, I feel like there were a lot of unanswered questions. Do you feel the same way?
I felt the same way when it got to the end.
I feel like there's just a lot of plot holes that could be filled in, especially in the sequel. And I think especially regarding, Celine, which is
that one
mentor.
What's it called? From the little that I do know, this movie got half of the entire plot cut out. So I'm guessing we were supposed to see a lot more of Celine than just the two scenes that she got, which was one, the flashback scene, and then the scene where she's arguing with Rumi at the end. But other than that,
Yeah, all we really know is that she was a hunter before. She was part of the Sunlight Sisters, which Rumi's mom was also a part of. And there wasn't really any deep dive into that. So for the sequel, I would definitely want that to be incorporated to see the rich history of the hunters and the origin of how they came to be, basically, and how they are able to come together and defeat the demons that roam the earth, I guess.
Yeah, defeating Shima's forces. Or at least I think that's his name.
Yeah. Guima?
Oh yeah, Guima.
Yeah.
I keep getting him confused because there's this one Titan from this monster movie, Godzilla Kong New Empire, named Shimu, and for some reason I got like the names of the villain of K-pop Demon Hunters twisted in with that.
Oh, I mean, same concept. They're both villains, right?
Yeah, one of them turns good, but the other one is just pure evil.
Oh yeah, also another thing is, how are the hunters chosen? So what I believe is that it could be passed down by bloodline, because we see that Rumi's mother was a hunter, and that kind of passed down onto Rumi. But what about Mira and Zoe, you know? Yeah. Do you have any theories on what you think?
I don't know, because like with the little backstory that we got, it's like Mira was a problem child. So it's like just by description of how like her family looks in the Golden Song that plays in the movie, it's like her dad looks like he could have been like a businessman, so maybe he was like a producer of the Sunlight Sisters.
Oh, okay.
So that could have worked.
Yeah.
And then Zoe, on the other hand, I don't know, because they said that she grew up in America, so it's like completely separate from all of this.
Yeah.
So maybe she made a name for herself in the States and then went back and they're like, hey, would you like to join this group? So maybe they could do something like that.
Also, that brings up another idea I had, which is how they would train to become hunters. We don't see much of that in the intro of the movie. I don't think there is any at all. But for the sequel, for sure, I want to see a lot of the history, or a lot of like backstory, I guess, that explains what happened in the first movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does. But like, hey, that's the beauty of a sequel. You could expand on the first one.
Exactly. Also, I want to know what happened to Rumi's mother. They don't get into that at all. They don't get into a lot of things, which honestly, this movie, I just really appreciated the music more than the actual plot, but still the whole movie itself, it was great. But we need to see more please.
Let's go with the thing you said about the music. That's one thing that a lot of people back in the 80s, because there was this one movie called Transformers the Movie that came out, and a lot of people that did go see the movie, they were like, we remember more of the album that was playing in the movie than the actual movie itself.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a repeat here in a way.
Kind of funny, because the whole point of the movie is just like using music to connect all these people and to bring everyone together and to seal the honmoon. I don't know, I just thought it was funny because, you know, people ended up listening to the soundtrack of this movie and it reached charts.
I'm one of them.
Yeah.
Like, I'll give this example. I didn't see the movie when it first launched. I didn't see it until July 31st. When I saw the movie, this has been going on every day since I've seen the movie. The entire like song list, I have not stopped playing that every single day since the movie came out.
Do you have a favorite?
It's between Takedown and What It Sounds Like. But like just like maybe solo personal music, probably Free.
Yeah, Free is definitely my favorite. I hope we get, you know, some like a Free 2.0 or something similar to those vibes.
I feel like we will.
Yeah.
And maybe if we do get a sequel, or we are getting a sequel, is when it does happen, maybe give something like that to Mira and Zoe, just so they can have more character development.
Yeah, there wasn't much in-depth analysis to their characters as well. We didn't...
Another thing that they did cut that is hinted to in the final product, when the main demon is talking in their ear at the end, when like the group breaks up for a little bit, he tells them what their fears were. We were supposed to get an entire like plot line of their stuff, but you know, it kind of works with them just whispering in their ears at the end.
I'm gonna switch over to Rumi's dad now, or the theories about his dad. So
one mention in the movie, just one mention that he was a demon.
So the disappearance of Rumi's mother, or I guess the
dad,
the death. What I was thinking was, since Rumi's mother was a hunter and she did have a half demon child. Could that be part of the reason why she is gone, do you think?
I've seen a couple of theories. I have one theory that I would like to see.
What is that?
The one theory that I would personally want to see is, what if her dad was like Genu in a way, where he was a demon, but then he fell in love with this hunter, started turning sides, but probably ended up paying the price for it, and so did his, love interest.
Oh, yeah.
Another one that I've seen, though, which Netflix would be really brave to do, was hey, what if her dad was just pure evil, and, well, you could pretty much guess what he would have done to Rumi's mother.
Mm-hmm.
Which, that would be dark, even for like this. But
yes.
I would applaud them just for being brave, but give us the other one saying that, hey, he was changing, and hey, maybe you could say he sacrificed himself to save Rumi. I think that would be really...
Yeah. Speaking of Genu, though, I don't think this is the last time we're gonna see him. Definitely in the sequel, I would want Genu to come back in any sort of way. He's not gone. His soul, he gave it away to Rumi.
Yeah.
It's in the sword. So for me, I would only assume that the sword would be the key to maybe sealing the honeymoon, but also giving Rumi and Genu the chance to be with each other.
There was this little detail that I noticed in the movie, specifically when they were singing Free, which is because he gave the soul to Rumi at the end, but you could see that it lit up as blue, so it's like, okay, he's been saved. But
yeah,
I want to say it was like on my 10th or 12th rewatch of the film that I did. It's this movie's consuming me, man. But I noticed when they were singing Free and when he was stepping on the ceiling or the roof of that one building he was on, I noticed that on his feet where the Hunmoon was. Now, in the movie, whenever the Soldier Boys sing, it becomes pink and it tears open. But when he was singing Free, it was blue. So it's like, oh, he's turning good.
Yeah.
And when I caught that, I was like, oh, this makes what happens after this scene so much more heartbreaking.
Yeah. So do you think, or is he free from Guima?
He gave his soul to Rumi, so he most likely is.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not he would still have the tattoos, I feel like it could be like another case like Rumi, where he's like, he might hear him, but he's no longer controlled by him.
Yeah.
Which, that would probably be the best thing to happen.
Mm-hmm. I would also love to see more of Guima next movie. I feel like he was set up to be the main villain. I can't think of any other person or entity that could replace Guima for the next movie, but
I mean, technically they didn't kill him. They just condemned him back to his realm.
Yeah, so maybe, they're setting up for the next movie. Maybe they might not seal the Hanmoon yet. Maybe Guima might take over again. Who knows? We'll see.
What would be crazy is if they end part 2 with like a cliffhanger that leads straight into part 3.
Yeah.
Like, if they were to do what they are doing currently with the Spider-Verse films, where it's like, oh no, sorry, we have this too much, split it into 2. And then,
You gotta wait another 4 years.
Oh man, even the Spider-Verse films do that.
Yeah.
I think the villain would work, but let me ask you this: if he could technically be in the background. How would you envision, let's say, a newer villain for Huntrix to face in the film?
Oh, that's a really good question. You know what? I need to think about that for a second. So, if there was another villain, I don't think it could be another entity. I feel like Guima is...
He's like the final boss of everything.
Yes. So if there were any villains in the next movie, it could probably be like demon warriors,
Yeah.
Or like stronger beings.
It would be, or what I'm getting from you is like, it's like the Soldier Boys, but would you have them be evil without like the humanity aspect to them, or just kind of like what the Soldier Boys were, but not as much?
Oh, yeah. So, seeing how the Soldier Boys were, especially the way that Genu started to switch sides, I think that the next movie would probably have, if anything like the Soldier Boys, they would be heartless. There would be no mercy. Yeah, they wouldn't have empathy. And I feel like Guima would be the main cause for that. So I think he is the ultimate villain. I'm sure that there is going to be another...
I feel like they're setting up, like, or in the background, none of this is all just speculation on my end.
Yeah.
I feel like they might be doing, or with the sequel, they're gonna, like, tease, you know, the main villain, or for the third film, which is Jima, so much, where I feel like he's gonna take physical form, and he's gonna be like, kind of like how Thanos was in Marvel, where he's like, fine, I'll do it myself.
Yeah. If he does, then that's Endgame.
Yeah.
That is Endgame, no pun intended.
It's like, if you make a 3-hour movie, do not cut half of it out again, please.
No! Make it longer,
You could have given me a 3-hour movie. I understand why they didn't. They wanted rewatch value, but...
Yeah.
You cut out a couple of songs in that, too. You cut out the aquarium scene. We were robbed twice.
I think seeing how much traction this first movie got, it's definitely going to pave the way for the franchise, if there is going to be one for K-pop Demon Hunters. Next movie, I expect more plot-heavy storytelling and more in-depth storytelling as well. Yes, characters as well. Yes,
we need more in-depth characters. We need more in-depth writing. We need more songs to add to the album.
And please do not cut out scenes.
Yeah, and don't cut out songs too.
Exactly.
One thing I was thinking of specifically with the music is one thing I will say is with us getting the first K-pop Demon Hunters, then getting they've released it like 3 times already on Netflix. You have the regular edition, the sing-along, and then just the songs separately. Would it really hurt for us to get an extended cut of the movie? Because I feel like a lot of people would really, really enjoy that. You can cut out, or I mean, you could keep all the scenes that were cut, and maybe even the songs that were cut too. Because I know that they had a lot of them that might have gotten cut. And also, I spoke about this earlier with Transformers the movie. They used to make albums for these things. Can we start bringing that back, please? Yeah. Where we just have like a bunch of songs, even if they're not in the movie. Like, I think that itself would be...
Like bonus tracks, right?
Yeah, bonus tracks.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be something that's really good for it.
Bring back the Tiger and Bird. I just recently learned that their names are Sussy and... What was it? Derpy?
Derpy is the tiger, and then Sussy is the 6-eyed creature thing.
Yes,
that's a bird.
Bring them back. We are definitely going to be seeing them in the sequel. Also I remember what I was going to say. For the amount of time we have to wait for the sequel, why not release like a director's cut, an extended cut, bonus tracks? You could push out like a physical album. You can have little photo cards for Rumi, Zoe, Mira, or even the Saja Boys.
Yeah, you could add actually, that's a good question that I have.
Yeah.
If they are to do a sequel, and let's say the Saja Boys make a return, would you want more lore added to them?
What lore would they have? Because I feel like the point of...
Like, or at least the way that I got their characters is like, yeah, these guys are more pure evil than Gino is. Gino at least has a heart.
Yeah. I feel like that was kind of the intention there with the first movie, you know. It was there to show that Gino had a heart, and unlike his other bandmates, he wanted to see the good come out of the situation.
It's like he went from resenting the past to embracing it finally for what he did and paying for his sins.
Yeah, but maybe Saja Boys return?
Probably dead.
Yeah.
Actually, they just condemned back to the realm that they came from.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Unless if the main villain just absorbs their energy, life force, and just grows larger. He did that to the pilot in the beginning. Okay, what about this last thing for the sequel? If Gino does come back, would it be cool for him to join the Huntrix?
I have seen theories about them adding a 4th member to Huntrix, and I don't think that's going to happen, especially with adding Gino into Huntrix.
Yeah.
I don't know, because, you know, he was part of the Saja Boys, and everyone loved them, but to add Gino into Huntrix, what would he do?
I don't know.
He'd be like their personal bodyguard or something.
He could be their personal bodyguard. It's like, he perform with them? He could be the guy voice in the song?
That's true. I think, but...
You could have him and Rumi maybe like do their own thing.
Yeah.
Free was a good example of that.
It's always been 3 hunters at a time, though, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with him being a part of Huntrix, does he need to be a hunter is the question.
You know, he could be a part of Huntrix, but not part of the hunters. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I could see him like trying to help out here and there, but like ain't really able to.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a weapon of his own.
maybe that's something to look forward to in the sequel.
Yeah.
Seeing how that could unfold if it does happen. Yeah. Thank you for joining us on the 3rd episode of the Storytelling Podcast on how to continue a story here on Delta College. We are going to take a quick break, but we will be right back here on 93.5 KWDC.
Did you know that $60 billion are lost every year to Medicare fraud?
If someone has been a victim of healthcare fraud, the more we talk about that this occurs, older adults will feel more comfortable about sharing their experience.
It's not about someone not being smart enough or not paying enough attention. Falling victim to fraud can happen to anyone.
If I've been scammed, if I've experienced it, and I'm angry about it, and I want to do something about it, then I have an opportunity to volunteer and share with other people, here's what happened to me, but it doesn't have to happen to you.
Medicare fraud hurts people, it hurts Medicare, and we need your help to make a difference.
It's powerful to be able to address an issue like Medicare fraud, and being a volunteer for SMP gives you that power to do it.
If you have passion and dedication and want to be of service, we'd love to have you join our team.
For more information or to volunteer, visit californiasmp.org.
Well, everyone, that's going to be it for this podcast episode on the Storytelling Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us on the Storytelling Podcast. Our guests today were Christopher and Allison, who gave their perspectives on how to write a sequel to K-pop Demon Hunters and how to rewrite the Star Wars sequel trilogy that came out a couple of years ago. This podcast series as a whole has been something I've looked very much forward to all semester, and I'm grateful that I finally got to bring it to life with the help of the incredible people that are here in the digital media department. I do want to take this moment to thank all of you for listening, for the support and the feedback on the first 2 episodes. I would like to thank Professor Broger and Leo in the digital media department for giving me tips on how to improve, and of course thank you to the 2 guests who joined me today in today's show, Christopher and Allison. For now, I've pretty much covered everything that I set out to explore with this series. I will maybe be back for another episode in early 2026 if everything lines up right. You might hear a few more episodes then, but we'll have to see. Until then, thank you for listening. This is the Storytelling Podcast, and it's been a truly rewarding experience for me, and I hope it's been just as rewarding for all of you. The Storytelling Podcast has been a production of KWDC 93.5 LPFM Delta College Radio. This program was made possible by listeners like you. Programming is produced by the students, staff, and faculty of San Joaquin Delta College's Digital Media Department and supported by the Delta College Department of Arts and Multimedia, the Career Technical Education and Workforce Development Office in the state of California. Thank you for listening.